What's up, guys? Welcome back to Among the Fins. I am your lovely host, Aaron, and thank you for joining me on Request Wednesday. If you're thinking to yourself, wow, something looks kind of different, there are two things. The first one being that there's no more books in this bookshelf, and the second one being that I recently shaved my beard because it was doing this weird thing with it was getting too long, and I wear a mask, and it was doing like this curly thing like around my mask, which was really dumb. And I told one of my friends that I would shave my beard when I found a new place to live. Hence why there's no more books here. They're currently in boxes, which apparently books take up a lot of space in boxes, and I need to go buy some more apparently because they just take up everything. But anyways, today we're going to be checking out an album that has been requested very much, and it's been a long time coming. We're going to be checking out Circadian by the band Intervals. Intervals is a progressive metal band from Canada, started about 2011. Circadian is their fourth studio album, and the band currently consists of Aaron Marshall, and that is it. It's just a one-man band. Of course, he brings on other people for like different projects and different instruments and things like that. And like when he tours or does live performances, he brings along like a bass player and drummer, but the core member of the band is just him by himself, which is extremely impressive. And the person who requested this review was hoping that I would go through it song by song by song, which I do intend to do, but it's a little hard for me to do like a super deep dive since this is 100% instrumental. I don't want to like bore you guys with musical theory and just things like that. And honestly, if I talk about every little amazing, intricate thing that goes on in these songs, then I'll be sitting here for at least 20 minutes talking about the first song. And I don't want to do that, but I do want to talk about some of the different feelings and elements in these songs that I personally got. The first song on that album, 5-HTP, is extremely like chill and kind of breezy and almost bouncy in a sense. Its main riff fits so well with all the little solos and little blemishes he throws in here and there. And there's lots of layering, not even just in the mix, but just instrumental wise. There's a lot of stuff going on in the background. The drum work is fantastic. And there's like random chugginess that comes in. It gets very djenty in certain areas, but maybe just for like a bar or two. And all of these things are basically foreshadowing what this entire album is going to be. Vanta Black is quite a bit faster and more aggressive. The melody is very eccentric, and the bass plays a huge role in this song as well instead of taking a backseat. And of course, the drum work is absolutely flawless. I love the double bass that's thrown in there every once in a while. But the song has a very back and forth feel to it, specifically in the verses. But then once you get to the chorus, it just like slingshots you forward, and it drives so hard compared to the verses. And then once you get to the verse again, back and forth, it has a really good element of like surprise, and it's just a very interesting journey to say the least. And then there's like this bass solo, and then the guitar kicks in, and there's almost like this duet between the bass and the guitar. And then there's a fade out, which opens everything up, and it creates like this feeling of flying or like floating. And then everything comes in together, and all these elements are just mashed together in the end, and it works out beautifully. The song Lunartic starts out with like this trickling guitar riff thing, and then it explodes into all this epicness. And honestly, this track sticks out to me a little bit more than all the other ones, just because it has a different feel to it. It's quite a bit more melancholy, and it has a lot of ups and downs throughout the verses. But then once you get to the chorus and like the main melody, it has a lot of resolve in it, and the communication like through the solos is just has an amazing expression throughout the guitar and the guitar tone, and honestly just note choices, just absolutely fantastic. Lock and Key is almost like a mixture of Lunartic and 5-HTP, but it's quite a bit darker, and there's, instead of like having a back and forth feel to it, it's more like just stop and go, especially like between the musical layering. It's absolutely chaotic. Like there's all these zipping notes going by, and then there would just be tons of djenting happening, and it's very, very chaotic. It's like an unsettling feel more than anything else. But then towards the end, it manages to combine everything yet again, and it just fits together so well without ruining like the spirit of that chaotic stop and go feel. When I listen to instrumentals, it's very easy for me to view most of the music in it as like a journey. I understand that like a lot of times it's exploring emotional depth, but honestly, like I visualize some sort of journey, and the song Signal Hill to me feels like a sprint, or at least has like it's a song with very clear, direct, strong intention, and it brings some heavy chugs into the main riff that eventually take center stage in the bridge, and then they kind of back off, but they stay there throughout the solo, which keeps just the epicness to it because you got this heavy chugging in the background, you got this buttery smooth solo over it, and then when the solo cuts out, they come back forward again. It's just tons of, it's just djenty goodness, heavy metal stuff, and it's great. I sense a lot of Animals as Leaders influences in string theory, but it has like a little bit more of a twist to it. But it's just extremely djenty, which is a very good thing. But the song itself has like a very curious or like an adventurous theme to it, like going on a journey. And it's got tons of good atmosphere, specifically in the bridge. But the song takes like a little bit more of a darker side to it. Like in the outro, it gets really dark and heavy, and it makes it feel like it's kind of a dangerous kind of emotion it's trying to evoke, or like this journey. It has like a little bit of a danger to it, which is quite a bit different than all the other songs too, which are more happy and cheerful and like more lighthearted in a sense. My favorite song on this album is probably Dose, which features Saxo Rose on the saxophone. And it has a strong sense of like freedom and playfulness, and the guitar feels very intimate and sincere. And the drums and bass, I mean, this song has just about everything. Every instrument has a moment to shine on this song. And even has some like percussion tones that he uses. I believe that's what it is. That reminds me of like a pan flute, which is one of my favorite instruments. And the saxophone towards the end blends in very nicely with the guitar, and they just, the tones between the two is absolutely beautiful. My only complaint about this song is that I wish the saxophone had just this more epicness to it. I just wish it was bigger. I wish the sax solo stood out just a little bit more, but it's pretty nice touch at the end, especially since it adds like this little sparkle of jazz to it. It just gives it a little bit more colors. The closing song, Earthing, reminds me a lot of Signal Hill in that it kind of feels like a sprint. Like you can see the finish line, the end of your journey, and you just want to get there. So you use up all the last bit of your energy to get there. And once you get there, you're like at the peak, you're at the pinnacle of your success and your journey where you want to go. You've reached your goal, and you just feel all this, it's just very euphoric in a way. And this song, and especially like in the midpoint, it has some of the best guitar playing, at least my favorite guitar playing technically throughout this entire album. It does feel a little long though, I gotta admit. Like, to me, it would have been more emotionally satisfying. It would have held on to that euphoric feeling a little bit longer if it would have ended a little bit quicker after reaching it. But at the same time, when listening to this, I can't imagine any section of this song not being in it. It's very long, or it has a very long feeling. I believe it's like 5 minutes and some seconds. And it just, it just would have summed up a little bit nicer if it was over quicker. But I can't think of a single part of it that shouldn't be in there at all. As far as the instrumental album goes, this is one of the few that's come out in the past like 10 years maybe that I've enjoyed it front to back, and I can listen to it song after song all the way through, and I enjoy the hell out of it. I might get some flack for this, but it reminds me of like the first time I listened to Joe Satriani's Surfing with an Alien. I remember the first time I put that on, and it just filled me with wonder for this instrument and the different sounds I was hearing. And obviously it isn't quite the same because I've listened to a lot of stuff that's like this, but it carries that same kind of charisma to it, and the excitement of music and the instruments and the way how Aaron communicates everything. It's just absolutely wonderful. There's very little that I disliked about this album. If honestly, the few times I listened to it, majority of the times I thought it was perfect, and a few times I'm like, I kind of wish you would have done this instead. But like I said, it's just very few things I would change about it. So with all that said, I gotta give Circadian by Intervals a 9 out of 10. I never thought I would give a modern instrumental album, especially one that's kind of more djenty based, anything higher than like a 7 in my life, strictly because I've kind of grown out of instrumental stuff. Like how I mentioned, I listened to Joe Satriani, but I went through like a 10-year stint of Steve Vai, Yngwie Malmsteen, Eric Johnson, just nothing but instrumental stuff. And honestly, I got kind of tired of it, but Intervals has kind of like re-sparked that in me a little bit, and I find myself enjoying it quite a bit, which it does make me happy to finally find something that's instrumental that isn't, it just doesn't feel like it's overdone, and it does have that charisma to it. But I want to know what you guys think. If you've listened to Circadian, go ahead and leave a comment below letting me know what you thought and what you would rate it. And if you enjoyed this review, don't forget to give it a like. If you have anything you want me to review, go ahead and leave a comment below letting me know what it is. We'll throw it up on the whiteboard and we'll get you squared away. And also don't forget to subscribe and ring the little bell icon. That way you don't miss out on any of my future reviews, especially if you leave a request, because that happens quite frequently. And I hope you guys all have a good rest of your day or night when you happen to be watching this. And I will talk to you guys next time.
I was just an ignorant kid relying on my parents said to save me. Years gone by, turning over, ignoring every day. Said to convict me. 17 at the top of